The 4th of July holiday in 2025 was meant to be a time of celebration, parades, and cherished family moments across the Texas Hill Country. Instead, it became a day of profound tragedy and unimaginable loss. In the pre-dawn hours of Friday, July 4th, 2025, a storm system of incredible force stalled over Kerr County, unleashing a torrent of rain that would forever alter the landscape and the lives of countless people. This wasn't just a heavy rainstorm, it was a catastrophic weather event that turned serene rivers into raging monsters, swallowing homes, roads, and most heartbreakingly, a beloved summer camp filled with young girls. The epicenter of this disaster was the Guadalupe River, a waterway that is typically a source of recreation and beauty for the region. As between 10 and 12 inches of rain fell in a matter of hours, the river swelled to levels that defied belief. Near the small community of Hunt, the Guadalupe rose an astonishing 26 feet in just 45 minutes, a surge of water so powerful and swift that it left no time for escape. The National Weather Service, recognizing the extreme danger, issued its most dire warning, a life-threatening and catastrophic flash flood emergency. For the residents of Kerrville, Hunt, and the surrounding areas, a holiday morning awakened into a nightmare. This event quickly became a national tragedy, focusing on the terrible situation unfolding at Camp Mystic, a historic girls' summer camp situated directly on the banks of the Guadalupe. News reports began to filter out, painting a chaotic and desperate picture. Hundreds of young campers were suddenly in the path of a deadly flood, with communication lines severed and the camp itself overwhelmed by the rising waters. The initial reports were terrifying, with dozens of children unaccounted for. A place known for laughter, friendship, and tradition had, in an instant, become the scene of a desperate search for life. The story of the Camp Mystic flood is one of immense sorrow, but it is also a story of incredible bravery, community strength, and the unwavering spirit of first responders. It serves as a stark and painful reminder of the power of nature and the vulnerability of our communities in the face of extreme weather. As we examine what happened on that fateful day, we remember the lives lost, we honor the heroes who rushed to help, and we seek to understand the lessons that must be learned from this Texas tragedy, ensuring that such a devastating loss of life is never repeated. The catastrophic flooding that struck Kerr County was not the result of a single simple weather pattern, but rather a perfect storm of meteorological and geographical factors. It all began with a slow-moving thunderstorm complex that parked itself directly over the Texas Hill Country. This type of system is notoriously dangerous because instead of passing through an area, it lingers, dumping immense amounts of rain over the same location for an extended period. During the overnight hours of July 3rd into July 4th, this system unleashed a deluge, with rainfall rates that were simply too much for the land and rivers to handle. The topography of the Texas Hill Country played a crucial role in escalating the disaster. The region is characterized by rolling hills, steep canyons, and thin soil on top of limestone rock. This landscape, while beautiful, does not absorb water well. When intense rain falls, it doesn't soak into the ground. Instead, it runs off quickly into creeks and rivers, a phenomenon known as flash flooding. The Guadalupe River and its tributaries became funnels, collecting the massive volume of runoff and channeling it into a destructive, fast-moving wave of water. This is why the river levels could rise so dramatically and so quickly, catching residents and campers completely off guard. The sheer volume of water was staggering. Officials reported that some areas received over a foot of rain in less than 12 hours. This amount of precipitation turned normally peaceful streams into violent torrents capable of moving cars, uprooting ancient trees and destroying buildings. The force of the water was immense, creating a wall of debris that added to its destructive power. The National Weather Service's declaration of a flash flood emergency is reserved for the rarest and most severe events, where a threat to human life is imminent or ongoing. It was a clear signal that this was not a typical flood, but a historic and deadly natural disaster in the making. Understanding the science behind this event is critical for future preparedness. Climate models have long predicted that weather events will become more extreme, and the Kerr County flood is a tragic example of this reality. It highlights the vulnerability of communities built along waterways, especially in regions prone to flash flooding. The combination of intense, localized rainfall and the unique geography of the hill country created a worst-case scenario. This event underscores the urgent need for better early warning systems and public awareness about the specific dangers of flash floods, which can turn a familiar landscape into a deadly trap in minutes. Nestled in the heart of the Texas Hill Country, along a picturesque bend of the Guadalupe River in Hunt, lies Camp Mystic for girls. For generations, this camp has been more than just a summer destination. It is a revered institution, a place where traditions are forged and lifelong friendships are born. Founded as a Christian camp, Mystic has cultivated a legacy of character building, outdoor adventure, and sisterhood. For thousands of girls from across Texas and beyond, spending a term at Camp Mystic is a rite of passage, a cherished experience passed down from mothers to daughters, creating a deep and lasting bond within families. The camp's identity is intrinsically linked to the Guadalupe River. The river is the backdrop for countless activities, from canoeing and swimming to simply enjoying the natural beauty of the hill country. It is the source of joy, laughter, and iconic camp memories. Girls spend their days learning to appreciate nature, developing independence, and building confidence in a supportive, screen-free environment. The camp's motto, "For God, for others, for self," is woven into every aspect of camp life, fostering a sense of community and service that campers carry with them long after they leave. Its importance to families is immeasurable, representing a safe haven where their daughters can grow and thrive. The news that this beloved sanctuary had been struck by such a devastating flood sent shockwaves through the vast network of Mystic alumni and families. The very river that defined the camp's idyllic setting had become a source of immense danger and terror. For parents who had entrusted their daughters to the camp's care, the initial hours of the flood were filled with agonizing uncertainty. With power, water, and Wi-Fi completely knocked out at the camp, communication was impossible, leaving families to rely on fragmented news reports and frantic social media posts for any scrap of information about their children's safety. The tragedy was amplified by the deep sense of trust and history associated with Camp Mystic. It was a place that had always felt secure and timeless, protected from the troubles of the outside world. The flood shattered that illusion, striking at the heart of a community built on tradition and faith. The impact on this institution goes far beyond the physical damage to its cabins and grounds. It has left an indelible scar on the collective memory of everyone who holds Camp Mystic dear. The camp's story is now forever intertwined with this moment of profound loss and resilience. The morning of July 4th, 2025, began at Camp Mystic, not with the usual sounds of reveille and cheerful chatter, but with the terrifying roar of a rapidly rising river. As the floodwaters surged over the banks of the Guadalupe, they poured into the camp with astonishing speed and force. Cabins situated in lower-lying areas were inundated within minutes, forcing campers and counselors to scramble for higher ground in the dark, chaotic moments of the early morning. The serene summer camp was transformed into a disaster zone, with water sweeping through the grounds, carrying away equipment, furniture, and anything not anchored down. The immediate aftermath was one of utter confusion and fear. The flood had destroyed the camp's infrastructure, cutting off all lines of communication with the outside world. This information blackout was terrifying for everyone involved. Inside the camp, counselors worked heroically to account for every girl, trying to keep them calm and safe amidst the rising waters. Outside the camp, parents were waking up to news of the flood, their hearts sinking as they realized they had no way of knowing if their daughters were safe. The initial reports were grim, confirming that as many as 23 girls were unaccounted for, a number that struck fear into the hearts of families across the state. The evacuation of Camp Mystic was a massive and perilous undertaking. With roads washed out, the only way to reach the stranded campers was by air and by boat. Texas game wardens, Texas Task Force 1, and other elite rescue teams descended on the area, launching a complex operation. Helicopters hovered overhead, airlifting girls from rooftops and patches of high ground. In other areas, rescue swimmers navigated the treacherous, debris-filled currents to reach those trapped by the water. Each successful rescue was a small victory in a sea of uncertainty as the search continued for those still missing. The damage to the camp itself was extensive. The iconic waterfront, dining halls, and numerous cabins were either severely damaged or completely destroyed by the flood. The landscape, once so carefully maintained, was now a scene of mud-caked devastation, but the physical destruction paled in comparison to the human cost. The loss of young lives at a place that was supposed to be a haven of safety and joy is a tragedy of the highest order. The story of what happened at Camp Mystic on that day is a testament to both the unpredictable fury of nature and the incredible courage of those who fought to save lives in the face of it. While the tragedy at Camp Mystic captured national attention, the flood's devastation extended far beyond the camp's borders, impacting the entire Kerr County region. The communities of Kerrville and Hunt, both hubs of life in the Texas Hill Country, were hit with the full force of the deluge. The same rising waters that inundated the camp also swamped homes, businesses, and ranches all along the Guadalupe River. Residents who had lived in the area for decades described it as the worst flood they had ever witnessed, a sentiment echoed by the harrowing images of destruction that emerged as the waters began to recede. The region's infrastructure was crippled. Texas State Highway 39, a vital artery that winds alongside the river, was completely washed out in several places, leaving stretches of roadway looking like they had been hit by an earthquake. Bridges that had stood for generations were swept away, isolating entire communities and severely hampering rescue and relief efforts. Power outages were widespread, with over 2,600 customers left in the dark as utility poles were toppled and substations flooded. The basic services that people rely on every day, power, clean water, and passable roads, vanished overnight, plunging the entire area into a state of emergency. Authorities issued urgent evacuation orders for anyone living within 100 yards of the Guadalupe River, but for many, the warning came too late or the water rose too fast. The flood did not discriminate, affecting longtime residents, vacationers, and other summer camps in the area. While camps like Camp La Junta, Camp Waldemar, and Heart of the Hills were fortunate to report all their campers and staff as safe, they still faced significant damage and the shared trauma of the event. The flood served as a brutal reminder that the entire Hill Country community is interconnected by its relationship with the river, for better and for worse. The economic impact of the flood on Kerrville, Hunt, and the surrounding towns will be felt for years to come. This region relies heavily on summer tourism, with its rivers, camps, and scenic beauty drawing visitors from all over. The destruction of homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure represents a massive financial blow. But more than that, the flood has left a deep psychological scar on the community. The sense of security has been shaken, and the landscape itself, a source of pride and identity for so many, has been violently altered. The road to recovery will be long and challenging for the entire region. Amidst the statistics and news reports, the true story of the flood is told through the personal experiences of those who lived through it. One such story is that of the Miller family, who had rented a riverside cabin for their annual 4th of July vacation near Hunt. They were awakened not by an alarm, but by the sound of their porch furniture being swept away. Looking outside, they saw the Guadalupe River, normally a gentle stream hundreds of feet away, lapping at their doorstep. With no time to gather belongings, they grabbed their 2 young children and scrambled up the steep hillside behind their cabin, watching in horror as the water rose to consume the entire structure in less than 20 minutes. They huddled in the rain for hours until a rescue boat spotted them. Their relief at being saved mixed with the devastating realization that they had lost everything. Another powerful account comes from a young counselor at Camp Mystic, a college student named Sarah, who was in her 3rd summer working at the camp. She described the initial moments of the flood as pure chaos. As water poured into her cabin, she and another counselor quickly moved their 10 young campers to the attic. From there, they watched as the water level continued to rise, eventually forcing them to break through the roof. They huddled together on the shingles, singing camp songs to keep the girls' spirits up, even as they felt the structure groan beneath them. Sarah's bravery, and that of her fellow counselors, who put the safety of their campers above their own, represents the quiet heroism that defined that terrible morning. The perspective of the first responders is equally poignant. A Texas game warden involved in the helicopter rescues spoke of the immense challenge and emotional toll of the operation. He described looking down from the sky at a landscape that was almost unrecognizable, with only rooftops and the tops of tall trees visible above the brown, swirling water. He recounted the difficult choices they had to make, prioritizing rescues based on the most immediate danger. The hardest part, he said, was seeing the faces of the missing children on posters at the command center, and knowing that for some families, the rescue mission would become a recovery effort. His story is a testament to the incredible pressure and heartbreak faced by those on the front lines. For parents waiting at the reunification centers, the hours were an eternity of anxiety. One father, who drove through the night from Houston, described the scene at Ingram Elementary School as a painful mix of joyous reunions and silent, agonizing waiting. Every time a bus of rescued campers arrived, a wave of hope and fear would wash over the crowd. He spoke of the incredible support within the group of parents, strangers bonded by a shared, terrifying experience. While he was eventually reunited with his daughter, he said he would never forget the faces of the parents who were still waiting, their hopes dimming with each passing hour. These personal stories transformed the flood from a news event into a deeply human tragedy. The emergency response to the Kerr County flood was nothing short of massive, a coordinated effort involving local, state, and even federal resources. As the scale of the disaster became clear, a unified command post was established to manage the complex and dangerous search and rescue operations. More than 400 first responders descended on the area, a veritable army of help in a time of desperate need. This included over 60 Texas game wardens, the elite urban search and rescue specialists of Texas Task Force 1, and personnel from the Texas Military Department. Their mission was clear, save lives, and locate the missing. The rescue operations utilized every tool available. A fleet of 14 helicopters became the eyes in the sky, crucial for surveying the vast, flooded landscape and performing airlifts in areas inaccessible by ground or water. Below them, 9 highly trained rescue swim teams and numerous boat crews navigated the treacherous, debris-filled floodwaters. They faced extreme dangers, including swift currents, submerged hazards, and the instability of flooded structures. Drones were also deployed to provide real-time aerial imagery, helping to identify stranded individuals and map out the safest routes for rescue teams on the ground. It was a technologically advanced and incredibly brave effort. As campers and residents were rescued, a critical part of the response was providing immediate care and reuniting families. Officials quickly established reunification centers at locations like Ingram Elementary School and the Arcadia Live Theater in Kerrville. These centers became emotional focal points, where rescued children were medically evaluated, given food and comfort, and for the lucky ones, reunited with their frantic parents. For those displaced by the flood, emergency shelters were set up at local churches and schools, with organizations like the American Red Cross providing beds, meals, and emotional support to hundreds of people who had lost their homes. On the governmental level, the response was swift. Kerrville and Kerr County quickly issued official disaster declarations, which is a crucial step to unlock state and federal aid. At the state level, with Governor Greg Abbott out of the country, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick served as acting governor. He traveled to the region to oversee the response and offer support, making a solemn promise to the parents of the missing campers from Camp Mystic. "We'll do everything humanly possible to find your daughter," he assured them, a message that conveyed the full weight and commitment of the state's resources behind the ongoing search. To truly understand the magnitude of the July 2025 flood, it is essential to place it within the historical context of flooding in the Texas Hill Country. This region has a long and often tragic history with flash floods, but this event stands apart. Hydrologists and emergency officials quickly drew comparisons to the infamous Guadalupe River flood of 1987, a disaster that had, until now, served as the benchmark for catastrophic flooding in the area. That event resulted in the tragic deaths of 10 people, sweeping away a bus full of children from a different church camp. For decades, the 1987 flood was the story told to warn of the river's hidden power. The 2025 flood, however, surpassed that historic event in several key metrics. The rate at which the river rose near Hunt, 26 feet in 45 minutes, was one of the most rapid and dramatic surges ever recorded on the Guadalupe. The ultimate crest of the river annihilated previous records, reaching a height that models had once considered a remote possibility. The sheer volume of water and the speed of its arrival created a scenario that was more destructive and harder to escape than even the disaster of 1987. This event has now rewritten the record books and will serve as a new, more terrifying benchmark for future generations. The confirmed death toll from the 2025 flood tragically underscored its severity. As of July 5th, authorities had already confirmed at least 24 fatalities in Kerr County, more than double the number from the 1987 flood, with search operations still ongoing. Many of the missing and deceased were children from Camp Mystic, a fact that makes this tragedy particularly heartbreaking and distinguishes it from past events. The concentration of loss at a single beloved location created a focal point of grief that resonated far beyond the hill country, capturing the attention and sympathy of the entire nation. This flood serves as a powerful and painful lesson about the changing nature of our climate and environment. While the hill country has always been flash flood alley, the intensity of this event suggests that the frequency and severity of such storms may be increasing. The 2025 flood was not just another chapter in the region's history with water. It was a paradigm shift. It exposed modern vulnerabilities and demonstrated that even with advanced forecasting and warning systems, a storm of this magnitude can overwhelm a community's defenses, forcing a complete reevaluation of floodplain management, infrastructure design, and emergency preparedness strategies for the future. In the aftermath of the devastating flood, the Texas Hill Country community has been defined by two powerful opposing forces, overwhelming grief and incredible resilience. The loss of life, especially the young lives lost at Camp Mystic, has left a wound that will never fully heal. Yet in the face of this immense sorrow, the spirit of Texas has shone through. Neighbors are helping neighbors clear debris, strangers are opening their homes to displaced families, and volunteers are working tirelessly to support the recovery efforts. This powerful sense of community, of people coming together to lift each other up, is the first and most vital step on the long road to healing. For those looking on from afar and wanting to help, there are concrete ways to offer support. Officials have emphasized that the most effective way to contribute is through monetary donations to established relief organizations like the American Red Cross. These groups are on the ground providing shelter, food, and financial assistance directly to the victims. Donating money, rather than physical goods, allows these organizations to purchase exactly what is needed most, avoiding logistical challenges. It is a direct and impactful way to help the families and communities shattered by this disaster begin to rebuild their lives. This tragedy must also serve as a critical wake-up call about the importance of natural disaster awareness and preparedness, particularly concerning flash floods in Texas. Every family should have an emergency plan. This includes knowing your flood risk, having a go bag with essential supplies, and establishing a communication plan with loved ones. It is vital to heed all warnings from emergency officials and to never attempt to drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown is more than a slogan. It is life-saving advice. Understanding the dangers and preparing for them is the best defense we have against the awesome power of nature. The story of the Camp Mystic flood will be remembered as a Texas tragedy, a moment of profound loss marked by the images of a raging river and a desperate search for children. But let us also remember it as a story of heroism, from the camp counselors who protected their campers to the first responders who risked everything. Let it be a story of community, of a region that refused to be broken. And most importantly, let it be a catalyst for change, inspiring us all to be more prepared, more aware, and more resilient in the face of the storms to come. The memory of those we lost demands nothing less.
Hello my YouTube family, this video full watch and full details provide this video, and really guys very informative video, so please wait for it and support and subscribe this YouTube channel guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please support. Goodbye guys, let's go.
On July 2nd, 2025, the world lost a cinematic titan, Julian McMahon, whose magnetic charm, piercing gaze, and fearless performances left an indelible mark on Hollywood and beyond. At 56, the Australian-born actor succumbed to a private battle with cancer in Clearwater, Florida, as confirmed by his devoted wife, Kelly Paniagua. The news, first reported by Deadline, sent ripples of grief through fans and colleagues alike, with social media platforms like X buzzing with heartfelt tributes. We lost a good one today. Rest in peace, Julian McMahon. F. Cancer. For fans like you, who poured out love with a simple I love you, Julian McMahon was more than a star. He was a source of joy, inspiration, and unforgettable moments on screen. This tribute celebrates his journey from Sydney's shores to Hollywood's spotlight, honoring his iconic roles as Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck, Cole Turner in Charmed, and Victor Von Doom in Fantastic Four, while reflecting on his personal life, resilience, and enduring legacy. Born on July 27, 1968, in Sydney, Australia, Julian Dana William McMahon was the son of Sir William Billy McMahon, Australia's Prime Minister from 1971 to 1972, and Lady Sonia McMahon, a celebrated socialite. Growing up in a high-profile family, McMahon was no stranger to the spotlight, yet he carved his own path with grit and charisma. His early career as a model took him to fashion capitals, London, Milan, Paris, New York, where his striking features graced Levi's campaigns and runways. He was a wild child who kept his father on his toes. This rebellious spirit would later define his most memorable roles. In 2000, McMahon joined the cast of Charmed, the WB's supernatural hit, as Cole Turner, a half-human, half-demon assassin who evolves into a tragic romantic lead opposite Phoebe Halliwell, played by Alyssa Milano. His ability to balance menace with vulnerability made Cole a fan favorite, with lines like, "I'm going straight to hell, 'cause it's got to be a sin to look this good," delivered with a mischievous twinkle. His chemistry with Milano electrified the screen, cementing Cole as one of TV's most beloved anti-heroes. That smile, that laugh, that talent, that presence. He walked into a room and lit it up, not just with charisma, but with kindness. Dance in those rose petals. Thank you for giving us Cole Turner. He'll always be one of my absolute favorite characters. McMahon's career-defining role came in 2003 as Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck, Ryan Murphy's daring drama about two plastic surgeons navigating morality and excess. As the suave, flawed Christian, McMahon earned a Golden Globe nomination, blending arrogance with raw vulnerability. The show, which ran until 2010, was a cultural phenomenon, with The Guardian describing Christian as a vagina-seeking missile, who revealed McMahon's knack for complex characters. We rode this wave together and I loved him. My heart goes out to Kelly and Maddie. McMahon reportedly earned $125,000 per episode in 2007, contributing to his estimated $16 million net worth. I was maybe too young to be watching Nip Tuck when I did, but I knew Julian McMahon was doing beautiful, impactful work. In 2005, McMahon stepped into the Marvel Universe as Victor Von Doom, also known as Dr. Doom, in Fantastic Four, alongside Iowan Grufford, Jessica Alba, and Chris Evans. He reprised the role in 2007's Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and even voiced Doom in the 2005 video game. It was an honor to be Dr. Richards to his Dr. Doom. Tremendous Victor Von Doom. McMahon's ability to embody suave villainy made him a contender to succeed Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, though the role ultimately went to Daniel Craig. McMahon's versatility really shone in his later roles, including Special Agent Jess LaCroix in FBI Most Wanted from 2020 to 2022, where he led with authority and depth. His final projects included portraying the Australian Prime Minister Stephen Roos in Netflix's The Residents, coming in 2025, which was a nod to his father's legacy, and taking on a supporting role as Scallion the Surfer, released in 2024, opposite Nicolas Cage. Deeply saddening. McMahon's last public appearance at South by Southwest in March 2025 for the surfer showed his resilience, even as he privately battled cancer. McMahon's personal life was as dynamic as his career. After his marriage to Danae Minogue, he wed actress Brooke Burns from 1999 to 2001, with whom he shared daughter Madison, now 25. Burns shared a touching tribute, posting a photo of McMahon with Madison, reflecting their bond. In 2014, he married Kelly Paniagua, who became his rock. With an open heart, I wish to share that my beloved husband, Julian McMahon, died peacefully this week after a valiant effort to overcome cancer. Julian loved life. He loved his family. He loved his friends. He loved his work and his fans. Kelly's words echoed McMahon's zest for life, a quality fans adored. McMahon's cancer battle was kept private, with no specific type disclosed. His death on July 2, 2025 in Clearwater, Florida, was described as peaceful, surrounded by loved ones. With a net worth of $16 million bolstered by acting, modeling, and savvy investments like a Hollywood Hills home sold for $2.18 million in 2015, McMahon's success was undeniable. Nip tuck. Deeply saddening. Holy shit, this is sad. As an Aussie, we knew McMahon as an OG Nippo baby, but he really found his niche. His roles in Nip Tuck, Charmed, and Fantastic Four continue to stream, keeping his performances alive. Julian McMahon's journey from a Prime Minister's son to a Hollywood icon was one of talent, charisma, and heart. Whether as the seductive Christian Troy, the tormented Cole Turner, or the menacing Dr. Doom, he left an imprint that transcends time. His deepest wish was to bring joy into as many lives as possible. To you and millions of fans, he did just that. Rest in peace, Julian. Your light will never